Paramount, if you are following this, is one of the craziest roller coasters I've ever seen. Paramount owns CBS, Showtime, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, BET, VH1, MTV, among others. Lots of channels, including the Paramount Studio, which made, for instance, the Maverick movie, Top Gun. They make a lot of top movies out there. Paramount is basically collapsed in many ways as a business because they started Paramount Plus. They haven't been able to monetize it. They've lost billions of dollars in the process. The cable and satellite bundle is collapsing. All those cable channels are worth far less today than they were years ago. And now Sherry Redstone, who's in control of Paramount, is doing whatever she can to try to sell the company, and there don't seem to be a ton of bidders out there. And so this is a part of the story here of the NBA rights fees. I saw this and I couldn't believe it. Wall Street Journal reported that NBC is potentially trying to take away Turner, their ability to have half the NBA, and that Disney is willing to pay through ESPN over $1 billion more for a product that, frankly, nobody is watching on a large scale. The ratings for the NBA playoffs are down again this year, and they're going to pay more money for them. Now, partly this is a function of inflation and Joe Biden's disastrous economy. But we're talking about, I think, what is likely to be the most overpaid rights fee that has ever been garnered if the report is true. It's also going to destroy ESPN's profitability because just with what they're having to pay in the college football playoff and with what they're having to pay now with the potential NBA extension, the entire profit for ESPN is going to vanish overnight. It's pretty crazy to think about. So even based on the books and the numbers that they are sharing right now, what they would have to pay yearly for the NBA, what they would have to pay for college football, and the continuing decline of the cable and satellite bundle is going to basically turn ESPN from a profitable business into a break-even business. You're basically seeing the cable and satellite bundle collapse and still a panic setting in over what happens if you don't have the assets there. So you're seeing like NBC and Warner Brothers fighting over who's going to be the last business standing. I don't think the math works for Warner Brothers to continue to carry the NBA. I don't think the math works based on the numbers that are being talked about for ESPN. Amazon's a little bit different because they make so much money and they're so huge that they probably are just going to write off whatever they end up paying for ESPN like they do. Sorry, maybe they'll buy ESPN. Whatever they pay for the NBA like they do already in the Thursday night football realm. That is, they have Amazon Prime, and they can kind of do accounting moves that make it look like they're making money. And honestly, they make so much money off everything now, particularly cloud computing at Amazon, that they can lose $1 billion on sports rights, and it doesn't really matter. It's almost advertising for them. And I still think they're going to buy a sports gambling company. I really do. And then integrate all the sports gambling and all the Amazon Prime advertisements inside of their sports properties. So I can see how this makes sense to the Amazons of the world. I don't see how it makes sense to Warner Brothers, ESPN, or NBC. I really don't. The streaming messes continue to plague media companies everywhere. And I shared this on social media, but this is pretty wild. If you had bought Disney stock 9 years ago, the stock price is below where it was 9 years ago right now. So even leaving aside the crazy inflation that we've seen, and even leaving aside the dividends, even if you roll all that in, you have lost money by simply buying and holding Disney stock for the last 9 years. Meanwhile, Bob Iger the CEO of Disney, has made hundreds of millions of dollars. So the only people that have made money are not the shareholders, not the people who have invested the money in Disney, but the actual executives like Bob Iger, who've banked hundreds of millions of dollars, while actual shareholders have not made money. And one reason the stock price is tanked is certainly cord cutting, which one reason the stock price is down so much is cord cutting even accelerated to surprise people. In the second quarter, ESPN's profit collapsed. The overall revenue, really it's the theme parks that are saving Disney from complete disaster right now, even keeping it the same price for the last 9 years. Also a study out, 71% of Disney consumers want Disney to do away with the LGBTQIA inclusion obsession at the expense of the actual stories. 71%. That's a lot. Makes sense to me. I'm a parent. I don't want Disney to try to indoctrinate my kids. I just want them to put on good movies. When I was a kid growing up, I don't know what the subtext of Lady and the Tramp was. I don't know what the subtext of Cinderella was. I don't know what Fantasia was attempting to share with me, other than Disney made really good animated movies. Aladdin, Lion King, Little Mermaid. I liked Peter Pan, was my favorite growing up. These are not political movies. Why does a kids' movie need a subtext? Why does it need an overt message about anything other than entertaining people? And so to me, this is a failure of Disney. It's a failure of Bob Iger, and it's a continued example of Disney lighting money on fire. I think they are lighting money on fire when it comes to their extension of the NBA. Because NBA ratings in the first round of the playoffs down 9% over last year. Every other sport continues to set records. On ESPN itself, playoff game in hockey, 12-year high for first-round ratings. Hockey on ESPN up 17% over last year when it came to playoff ratings. You look at Caitlin Clark and what she did for women's college basketball, all-time highs. Men's and women, men's first and second round of the NCAA tournament set all-time highs. A 35-year high, going all the way back to 1989 for the Kentucky Derby, which just happened. Super Bowl most watched football game in history just happened. Everything is skyrocketing in viewership, and the NBA is down 9% in the first round. That's why I think the company, particularly Disney, but also Warner Brothers Discovery, they're wildly overpaying for an NBA product that isn't delivering audience now and is likely to continue to deliver lower audience going forward. I would bet for you that the second round audience is going to be down in a big way, because last year you had LeBron and Steph going head-to-head in a 6-game series. I don't think anything is going to rate anywhere near as high as it did last time.